Well, I gotta say, quite sad. All I gotta do is go from there, right there, and there is a water body behind those trees that is overgrown with all sorts of vegetation. So for that, I have to load up the kayak to the trailer and then drive that away and then launch so I could go to that lake over there. But suppose you have to do what you have to do. Alright, time to reposition ourselves. Loaded up the kayak. Well, so much for trying to kayak in the other place. As soon as I got here, it started raining, unfortunately. And guess I'll have to come back here another time. You know, the weird thing is they said there was going to be no rain on Saturday. And that's what you get. Right shoulder hawk is doing its thing over there in the back. I have a family of right shoulder hawks living on my property, and for as long as I lived there, they call to each other. That's exactly what he is doing. Its mate with children are off flying about, or it's just lonely and wants company. That's what I was talking about. That come on, fish, don't jump. That vegetation right there. You know, if I had an airboat, which I don't, riding through midst of all this vegetation that you see, like there, is really fun. The only downside is you gotta keep your mouth shut, literally, Because if you watch one of my previous videos when I was airboating from a few years back, there's bits and pieces flying of all of this, breaking up into like a million pieces, and the fact that the propellers on the back of the airboat act like a suction fan, or like a vacuum cleaner almost. What comes on the front of the boat goes to the back of the boat, and if you happen to be in between, that's gonna land on every single square inch of you. Wow, really beautiful. You could actually see, mind you that, you know, all the summer I'll be kayaking through the reclamation projects. Everything that you see planted has actually been planted with a purpose. It's not like it's just growing there for no particular reason. All sorts of scientists have cross-tabulated all of their research to plant exactly the species in the right places. So you have a herbaceous component and a forested component right behind it. And then you have the upland species that you see in the back. Gorgeous, gorgeous. You know, the thing about that hawk is that I know where he is, I just can't get him with a camera. He is perched up on top of a pine, just sitting there and screaming. Oh, from the back there's somebody with a boat. Listen to how peaceful it is. Just absolutely phenomenal. Doesn't matter where you look. It's just so peaceful. It's almost like somebody froze time. Look at that. Just looking across the lake. I mean, where else are you gonna get this? Wow. Usually you expect them to be in places like that, and actually that's probably one of their, whoops, sorry, one of their places to bank on. Missing vegetation, they probably just perch up in there and just sit. But now after all this rain, they're kind of confused. It's not too hot, not too cold, so they're more likely to be in the water this time. And the weather is picking up, I could feel it. It's getting drier now that all the rain has stopped, or something along those lines. And you could just feel the moisture being sucked out of the air. Getting really dry. Could feel it in your skin. You get thirsty a lot more quickly. Speaking of which, if you're out over the water, like I am, or even if you're in different places. Yeah, we got a little duck in there. Right there, little duck. But yeah, if you're out on the water, there's this whole science, behind hydration, and it's very look at that duck. It's very easy not to want to drink. A lot of people, they're like, well, I don't want to drink, I'm not thirsty. Well, that's not why you drink. You hydrate yourself specifically so that you prevent dehydration. Quenching your thirst doesn't fix dehydration. By the time people want to drink, they're already dehydrated. So if you take little sips on a regular basis, normally if I'm out on the water, I drink at least 1 bottle of water per hour. Just taking little sips. Don't have to drink a lot, and that in itself keeps you in top shape. It's very easy to spot abundance of the fish because you're more likely to see a lot more of everything else. If you noticed, as I'm circling this little cove, there's virtually no birds. You can't see any alligators, and that's only because there's no fish in here. Just like the circle of life. Birds and alligators follow the fish. And so even though it's peaceful like this, doesn't mean that it's conducive to aquatic life. And actually you could sort of see it in the water. If I pan the camera down like so, look at that. It's this weird green, I think the proper term for it is eutrophication or something along those lines. It's oxygen depletion. There has to be a certain quantity of dissolved oxygen in the water body for fish to function. And so interesting thing about it is that it's kind of like localized into zones. So just because this part doesn't have any fish doesn't mean that other parts don't. It's almost like a cloud underwater, really. Now, not to diss on the guy too much, but I always find it particularly fascinating. Hopefully he gets in the shot this way. I always find it particularly fascinating that people spend all this money on a boat with a fancy outboard engine, right? And after spending all this money on the boat and the engine, that boat over there probably cost, I don't know, $18,000 to $25,000. And after spending all this money on a boat, he is using a trolling motor 99% of the time when he's out in a place like this. And majority of the time he'll be fishing in a place like this, which kind of leads me to believe, what's the point of spending all that money on a boat if you're not actually going to use the engine on the boat? Because if you're using a trolling motor, you're more likely to have a better financial deal by buying a junk boat or something of the sort. But hey, it's his money. I just found it very ironic, for as many years as I kayaked, in places like Cockroach Bay and up and down the coast, I've always seen this, people with big boats and tiny little trolling motor. And the trolling motor is what they normally use. Seems really weird. So we live in what I call a dead zone, and hopefully around the bend we'll start seeing a lot more things to pay attention to. You can already hear it from all the birds chirping and everything. It's just amazing how that whole nook just didn't have anything in it. we could get a good... Oh, yes. That's the guy that was making all that noise. And speaking of all that noise, there's thunder in the background. Don't know if microphone is picking this up or not. All this ominous looking thing over there in the back, that's coming this way. And I'd really like to go in there. Just go in there for the kicks and giggles. You think I should? What do you think? How's the battery alive? Let's give it a try. Because technically, yeah, not gonna happen. But you get the point. To get our nose in here, just to see. And the reason why I can't get through is because those things are actually not grown vertically. They're crisscrossing each other. Well, that was a short trip. Yeah, it's just way too thick, and actually if you see there-ish, it's just virtually impassable. It gets so thick. And this is actually where it's growing. If you look on Google Maps, none of this is here. This thing is so rapidly growing that it's just amazing. Alright, let's get on with the program. See the breeze coming in? That's a clear sign of something happening very soon. The front is coming in, that's for sure. Alright, we're gonna try again. You ready for this? This one looks a little bit more promising. Although backing out of this thing would be a pain in the butt. You know, I am moving, just not, well, take that back, I'm not moving. Well, I guess one bonus of being stuck is being able to finally videotape creatures that are hidden right here. Look at that guy. It's just... just sitting there. It's like, what are you doing, man? And you know, the funny thing is, I was wrestling here for a little bit, and he just keeps sitting there. He doesn't know what to make of me. Well, I suppose so much for no rain. But this is Florida after all, so nothing to be surprised about. So somehow we're gonna be off-roading out of here.